Hey, welcome back to It's Time to Be You, the podcast that helps you trust yourself, stop getting in your own way, and create a life that feels authentic, meaningful, and fulfilling. I'm your host, Ariel Vaughn, and today I want to ask you, have you ever felt like you were meant for something more, but fear, self-doubt, or worrying about what other people think has kept you playing small? Maybe you've been waiting until you feel confident enough, qualified enough, or ready enough to finally use your voice. But what if confidence isn't what comes first? What if choosing yourself does? A few months ago, I had the opportunity to meet Dr. Marcea Whitaker at a conference that we both spoke at. And we connected briefly, and then I followed her on LinkedIn. And I just knew I had to get to know her because of everything that she was posting and sharing. And I thought that she would be perfect for this podcast. And I was so right. We had such a great conversation. Dr. Marcea is a powerhouse. She's a physician, life and business architect, international speaker, and author who helps women turn their pain into their platform. And in this conversation, we talk about what it really means to unmute yourself, why your story matters, and how people pleasing can quietly keep you from building the life you actually want. We also dive into imposter syndrome, stepping outside your comfort zone, learning to trust yourself as the CEO of your own life, and why saying yes to yourself changes everything. And as Dr. Marcea and I talked, I realized we had walked through so many of the same themes in different ways. We both know what it's like to question our worth, to hide parts of ourselves, to people please, and to slowly learn that using your voice starts with trusting yourself. And as you're listening today, I have a feeling you might see parts of yourself in her story too. Maybe you've questioned whether your voice matters. Maybe you've been waiting for permission to take up space, speak up, or go after something that's been on your heart. And if that's you, I hope this conversation reminds you that you're not alone and that your story matters. Let's get into it. Dr. Marcea Whitaker, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. Before we really get into it, will you just tell us a little bit more about yourself and who you are?
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Ariel, for inviting me. I'm excited to be here and excited for wherever the conversation leads. And so I am in Maryland, and I am a physician and a life and business architect, is what I call myself, because I help to build life and business for clients. I'm also an international speaker, International Woman of the Year, and also I co-host or guest host on SiriusXM.
Love it. Yeah. I was like, we got to connect a little bit and then I just saw all that you were doing. So I'm really excited to just learn more about your story and how you kind of got to where you are. So, first of all, a physician and life and business coach. How did this happen?
I know. And so look, there's a really good answer.
Yeah.
And so what happened was, so I have been a physician for almost 30 years, and I was good at books and school,
Mhm.
and that's kind of how most of my life went.
Yeah.
But I was living undernourished in so many other areas. My voice was stifled, and I ended up in places where I was always following someone else's lead
Yeah.
and ended up getting married to someone who was, I believe, to be a narcissist, and
Mm.
that just kind of added to that pathway.
Yeah.
Until there was a day when I said, you know what, I have to use my voice, I have to unmute, and I have to step out of the shadow. And the other part of that is that I have a birthmark on my face, which I normally put a little bit of coverage on it just
Yeah.
because I'm on camera all the time. But it was a birthmark that made me feel ugly. And
Mm.
so that was another thing. That was the first thing that made me hide. And
Yeah.
so when I stepped out when I stepped outside, as we say, outside, that was very liberating, and that helped me be my authentic me. And I started coaching other women in life. And so as I was talking to women who had life issues,
Mhm.
many of them had business struggles.
Yeah.
And so I ended up kind of coaching them on their business and how I built my business.
Mhm.
And so that's how we get to life and business coaching, because I help you build your life and your business together.
Yeah. I love that. And I liked how you said that you had to unmute yourself. What
Mhm.
was sort of like the catalyst? Like, how did you even get started from going to, I'm not really using my voice, I'm not showing up how I want to, Like, what's the first step you kind of took?
Yeah. So there are I think two pivotal moments. The first one was when I decided to leave that marriage.
Hmm.
And I had to I got to put my foot down, but I had to say, you know what was happening to me was not right.
Yeah.
And I had to say, hey, this isn't right. And I had to do something after that. So you can think all you want, but if
Hmm.
you don't take action, then you stay in the same cycle. So I took action
Right.
and kind of stepped out into the zone. But then I had another moment when I was a life coach, and I decided that I had to be visible.
Hmm.
And so I started taking the stage. I started speaking.
Yeah.
And that is like the epitome of unmuting when you have to get on a stage without notes, without teleprompter, without guides,
Yeah.
and you share something so powerfully in a way that people now get transformation. And
Yeah.
so that's the creme de la creme, if you will,
Yeah.
of being visible and being outside.
Yeah. And I'm curious because it almost sounds like you like dived into the deep end of like unmute to speaking on stages. Were you confident and just quiet, or what was your kind of background with confidence and your confidence level?
So I was not confident,
Hmm.
but I had to get, and this is what I tell clients, is that when you have something that is so powerful that needs to come out, that desire to help someone
Hmm.
has to be greater than your insecurities.
Yeah.
Okay. It's kind of like, just say, so I'm a physician. Let's say I had the cure for cancer
Hmm.
and I see all these people that have cancer.
Yeah.
And the question is, am I going to stay silent,
Hmm.
or am I going to go up to each one and say, hey, I have the cure for cancer? Am I going to go on the mic and say, hey, let me say something. I have the cure for cancer.
Yeah.
And so when that is bigger and stronger, then
Hmm.
you forget about your insecurity and you're just going to serve.
Yeah. I really love that as an example because I think when we hear something like that, we're all like, yeah, duh, I would tell everybody and it would be really easy. But I think sometimes we don't feel like we have the cure for cancer, but we do have a message to share. And lately, one of the things I've been thinking about is just how we may know what we want or what we know what to share, but we don't really want to admit it because it's kind of scary. Like, so do you
Yeah.
ever or did you ever kind of struggle with like, is my message really strong enough to share with others and does it matter?
Absolutely. And you've just kind of touched on what, and I think we may have talked about this in that session, was the imposter syndrome,
Yes. Yeah.
right? Where you don't think you have enough to share. And I'm like, yeah, you do. You do have enough, but you have to be able to say it. And so, what I normally say to folks is, how many Mary Kay consultants do you know? How many liquor stores are on the corner? How many churches are in certain areas? They're like on every block,
Yeah.
but they have a message and it's for the people that need you.
Yeah.
And I second guess myself all the time until I realize that, you know what? I actually have a powerful story. I actually have something that people can use. And so once I got to that level, I'm like, yeah, someone may do the same thing that I do,
Yeah.
but no one does it the way that I do it. And
Yeah.
that's my secret sauce.
I love that. And will you tell us a little bit more about what is your mission and your message right now?
Mhm. My mission is to help primarily women, but I do things for, the masses, that I help you turn your pain
Mhm.
into a platform. And that platform is then going to pay you back. And so I help you to build that. For one, we get an understanding as to what is that story, that thing that's connected to you that you would do for free.
Mhm.
And then we build the platform, and then I help you to market yourself and get that thing out of you and get you paid.
Yeah. I love that. That's awesome. And then because you coach with kind of this life and business, I think a lot of one they're intertwined, especially as someone who is an entrepreneur. Your business is your life a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But I'm curious about how then there's like the whole factor of like work-life balance and how does that all fit together for you?
So I learned something very early on that it really isn't about balance, but it's
Hmm.
about harmony. And just say, for example, I was actually out of town this past weekend and I was working.
Yeah.
I emceed an event. I was trying to make sure everything was coordinated, but I was with my business besties.
Yeah.
And so we had fun. We went out to dinner. We were on the phone, cackling, and then we were debriefing the next day or whatever. And so that didn't sound that it sounded like work, but it didn't feel like work.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then while I was there, I visited family, visited some friends. And so this felt like vacation,
Yeah.
but I was working. So as long as you get to decide how you want it to feel.
Hmm.
And if I have another colleague who he doesn't want to work. If I ask him a work question on a weekend, he's like, "Oh, I don't want to work. I don't want to work." That's his idea of how he wants to live his life. And so more
Yeah.
power to you. But I'm okay mixing business and pleasure together because I think it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just like, why not mix business and
Mhm.
pleasure? And that's amazing when you can have these business besties where it's like you're doing business together, but you're doing
Yeah.
life together. And like that
Yeah.
just makes it so much more fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't want that?
Right. And then I'm curious with, you sharing more of your message and especially how you're encouraging other women to take their pain and turn it into their platform. A lot of times people find it hard to be vulnerable. And especially they find it hard to be vulnerable and visible because of like what everyone's going to think and say. So I'm curious about when you started speaking and sharing your truth, did you have any, naysayers or anyone that, wanted to kind of hold you back on what you wanted to share?
So I'm going to speak to the first, it wasn't a question, but I'm going to speak to it about being vulnerable.
Yeah.
One of the things that as speakers, or even coaches,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to tell your entire life story,
Yeah.
right? You don't have to say, and I'm being a little over dramatic, but you don't have to say you were molested and raped and abused and you were a foster child and you got married early and then you were bankrupt and then you were, whatever. You moved
Yeah.
across the country, you were trafficked, right?
Yeah.
We don't need to know all of that. Pick that, pick the thing that helps you help others,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? Maybe when you talk about abandonment, maybe abandonment is your idea. Talk about the one time or the first time you were abandoned
Yeah.
and how that determined your life,
Mm-hmm.
right? Maybe I was adopted, okay, or maybe I was whatever, right?
Yeah.
Let that be the story. You don't have to say all the different pieces. And so when you're saying vulnerable, just pick one.
Yeah.
Pick a powerful one and talk about that. So when you ask the question about did other people kind of want to keep me kind of boxed in,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say not so much. We think people care
Mm.
more than they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the first thing. The
Yeah, they
second
do.
thing is that I boxed myself in,
Mm.
and some of it was purposeful and some of it was by default. And let's just say, for example, my story was about, leaving, unmuting, and I left my marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at the time, my kids were small. My kids were minors.
Mm-hmm.
And so I, on purpose, didn't talk about the parts of the divorce and the things like that because I was trying to protect them. And I hadn't fully moved through all of those seasons.
Right. Yeah.
And it was purposeful for me not to speak on it. I share a little bit more now if I'm in a small group, whatever, but it's not, and also I'm not a divorce recovery coach.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't need to talk about the divorce. Divorce was my story that I had to go through that led me to unmuting, but I'm talking about your business. I don't
Yeah.
need to talk about that. So, so to bring it home, sometimes we are the ones that limit ourselves. People don't really care. Decide what you want to share and let that be your story.
And it is interesting to just think about what is the one piece that you really want to share and how is that going to help people and how is relevant to the story. And then it also just kind of makes me think of the stories that we even tell ourselves,
Mhm.
especially if we've been through like a lot of trauma or had a lot of life
Mhm.
experiences that kind of like let us down. And then we keep like focusing on it and sharing it. And then it's, I think a lot of people just like tell themselves some stories that can keep them stuck.
Yeah. And I'll say one of the tenets and one of the concepts that I also teach from is there's clean pain and then
Mm-hmm.
there's dirty pain,
Say
right? And
more.
mhm. You're going to recognize it because it's pretty much what you said, but there's a concept that we build around it. So the clean pain is what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Maybe you failed out of high school or
Mm-hmm.
failed out of college, right? That's what happened. You failed out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the dirty pain is what is it that you're making that mean?
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm never going to be successful. I'm dumb. I now have to go back home and work in the family business for the rest of my life. I've let everybody down. I'm no good, right? And
Yeah.
so if we can just deal with, and I know you're a life coach as well, so
Yeah.
you know about all of this. If we can just deal with the thing that happened
Mm-hmm.
and then reframe that
Yeah.
into something that's going to be positive, then now in the clean pain zone. Coming out of the dirty pain
Mm-hmm.
part is going to be harder, but it's still doable, but it's necessary in order to get us someplace else
Yeah.
and more positive.
Yeah. I love that. I have not heard of clean pain and dirty pain. Is that something that you've came up with or is that
It is not. I had a life coach during my separation divorce who helped me just kind of deal with some of the things that were happening.
Yeah.
And that's part of my story too. I had a separate life coach and several business coaches, and I'm trying to manage all of the things. And I'm like, it would be so much simpler if the life and business were together. But anyway,
Yeah.
so that was a concept that she taught me.
Yeah. I would love to know more about that, like the coaches that you invested in and what that kind of looked like to help you on your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, a life coach. I've had about four, maybe five
Yeah.
business coaches. I've had a keto coach. I,
Okay.
actually had a narcissist recovery coach
Yeah.
who helped me kind of process some of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say I probably have had some others, but I mean, I believe every coach needs a coach,
Mm-hmm.
and I have certainly invested enough in my own brain
Yeah.
so that now I can help others along the way.
Yeah, it's so important to invest in yourself to just continue to be able to learn and grow and take yourself to the next level so that you can kind of like bring people along with you and have them have their journey and powerful story.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like through your coaching, what are some of the things that you find get in the way of people and their business?
Mhm. I'm going to say there's a concept called empowered action,
Mm-hmm.
and I coach folks to take empowered action. So, empowered action is different from just action. Action is like you binge watching Netflix. That's taking action,
Yeah.
right? But empowered action is when you're taking the action that's going to get you the result that you want.
Yeah.
And so, if you're wanting to have a booming business, then you watching Netflix, binging it every night of the week, watching Love Island or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
You're you're not going to get to that result. Or if you decide you want to get ripped, right? That's not going to work.
Yeah.
And so empowered action is taking that action that's going to get you the result that you want instead of allowing something outside of you to make that decision for you.
Yeah.
And the answer to your question is the thing that happens is that people allow the thing that's outside of that to come and make the decision.
Yeah.
And one of the key moments is when someone decides they're going to sign up or not,
Yeah.
right? Folks, and I'm sure you get this as well,
Mm-hmm.
folks know they need you, but what they let get in the way is the money.
Mm-hmm.
What they let get in the way is the husband.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What they let get in the way are the 500 things that the kids are going to need between now and the time that I talk to them tomorrow.
Right.
Okay. But the first order of business is getting them to understand that, or actually getting them, well, having them understand themselves that
Mm-hmm.
this is something that I need
Mm-hmm.
based off of what we've talked about. And I know I'm going to get over this hump, but I have to invest in myself.
Yeah.
Yes, it's going to be some additional checks or, swipes that have to come out. Yeah, that's what happens. Right?
Yeah.
You don't get a degree, you don't get a doctorate
Yeah.
without swiping your card. You don't get a new car
Right.
without swiping your car. You don't get a new you without
Right.
swiping the card and investing in yourself.
I really like that. You don't get a new you without investing in yourself because it is true. And I think we do let factors like that get in our way. But you're right. It's like when someone makes the decision to invest in themselves, like you're then committed to keep going and showing up and doing the work.
Yes. And I'm going to add,
Yeah.
you change. When you say yes to yourself,
Yeah.
that's the first thing that starts to shift. I'm going to say shift the atmosphere, shift the protoplasm that
Yeah.
opens up your brain to new experiences. And now we can go to work
Yeah.
because you are now open and now we can work.
Yeah. Yeah, and I want to talk a little bit more about that of like saying yes to yourself and choosing yourself. And besides, investing in a coach, what does that look like for you when you're working with people when people are choosing themselves?
Yeah. Choosing themselves. One is definitely saying yes to the process. And this is something that comes up all the time. And it happened just the other night. A client will come on the call and they're like, I'm trying to figure out when I should have my event. Should I do it, Saturday, or should I do it Tuesday? Should I do it in the morning? Should I do it in the afternoon? And so I have to silence the other people in the room because they're trying to help them. And I'm like, nope, no, no. Let them get it out.
Yeah.
And then I ask them a simple question. When do you think is the best time?
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I don't know. No, if it were you, when would it be the best time? Well, I would think Saturday. Okay, Saturday, what time? Saturday. Well, I don't want people to be out and about. I don't want it too early. When do you think is a good time? Okay, well, maybe 12. All right. So it's 12 on Saturday. And I tell them that you are the owner.
Yeah.
You're the CEO.
Mm-hmm.
You own the business. I don't own the business. I'm not going to tell you what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to guide you. If you get stuck, I'm going to help give you some options. I'm going to give you some best practices if you go kind of far out.
Yeah.
But I want you to grow up in your business. You're the CEO. Act like the CEO.
Yeah. I
And so
love
that's one of the
that.
things that we do. And after that, after we get past that moment, they come to the calls differently.
Yeah.
And now they're thinking with the CEO brain instead of being an employee in someone else's business.
Yeah. I really like that. And I know that I have definitely had that of like within my own business and other things I've done. I'm like, well, yes, this works for me, but like, is it going to work for anybody else? And I want to like reach everybody. And, a lot of people pleasers listen to my podcast. And that's such a people pleaser mentality, I think, of wanting to do everything that's going to suit someone else, and especially like with the business. Do you run into a lot of people pleasers with who you work with?
Absolutely. And the thing that I'm going to say, and this may sound shocking, but I was the chief people pleaser,
Yeah.
right? That was me. So I get it. I recognize it when it's happening, and I can tell just from one sentence. Actually, I can even tell from demeanor. I can tell
Yeah.
from a demeanor if the person's a people pleaser. I just had one of my clients talk to her today. She likes to
Mm-hmm.
apologize for no reason,
Yeah.
and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." I,
It's like
I had
for
to stop
what?
her. I was like, "No, no, no." I said, "We need to stop this." I said, "You do not have to apologize
Yeah.
for, especially for things that were not under your control. It's different if I run over you. I'm sorry, right?
Right.
But I'm not, if the connection gets faulty,
Mm-hmm.
I have nothing to do with the fiber optics,
Yeah.
right? if something runs over in the meeting, I didn't run the meeting. It's not there's no need to apologize. And so
Mhm.
the act of apologizing
Mhm.
gives away your power.
Yeah.
And I told you I had lots of coaching. Okay.
Mhm.
I've gotten to a place now where I'm now that I wouldn't say 2.0, I'm like 5.0 or
Wow.
something based off of where I started.
Yeah.
But I come with a different level of confidence now. I come with a different level of, I'm gonna call it fabulosity now.
Oh, I love that.
I come different. I'm
Yeah.
the CEO of my business, and that's just how it is.
Yeah. I'm curious to know more about your people pleasing and what that looked like. And I mean, I imagine you started to work on that within your like first like life coach or something. But yeah, tell us more
Yeah.
about when you were like, this needs to stop.
Yeah. So just even when I mentioned about, oh, because of the birthmark,
Mhm.
I always felt like people wouldn't like me. And so I made sure I was likable.
Mhm.
And to me, that meant likable means I don't fuss, I don't complain, I don't challenge the status quo. If they want to go to the movies, sure, I'll go to the movies. If they want to go roller skating, sure, I'll go roller skating. Okay, so that's how that was in my childhood.
Yep.
And then in medicine's a whole other ball of wax. You're trying to please the patient,
Yeah.
right? That's a whole lot, that's people pleasing to the nth degree.
Yeah.
And then when I got married, told you the narcissist
Hmm.
personality, the bar was always moving. So I'm trying to think, I call it think with his brain. Okay,
Yeah.
what is he not going to want me to do? Okay, let me see if I can go 4 steps ahead because I know he's going to challenge me on each one, but I've already done it. And then by the time I get to the fifth one, he comes up with something else. And I'm like, I can't win.
Right.
Okay. So that's one snippet of what people pleasing look like in my life.
Yeah. And then when did you start to really change that behavior
Mhm.
and realize that you didn't have to go with the status quo or do things to make
Yeah.
other people accept you? And
Yeah. I think it started off with me saying I'm worthy. I have feelings too.
yeah,
Why is it that only they can be mad? No, I can be mad.
yeah,
I can be upset,
yeah.
right? I don't always have to put on a smile and act like nothing's wrong. No, they need to know,
Hmm.
right? And so once I started to build up that belief system that I was just as qualified and beautiful and knowledgeable and worthy,
Hmm.
that's when things, the process of it all starting to change.
And yeah, I think knowing that you're worthy is such a big part of it because people pleasers are just, we always want to know that we're enough and that we belong and that, we're worthy of being around and worthy of being in the room and all that stuff. And I always like to kind of know as people, start to invest in themselves and know their worth, and you start to show up differently. And then sometimes people are like, yes, I'm loving this version, like, want more of it. Other people are like, you're different. Why are you not saying like yes to the movies anymore? What was kind of like your experience as you started to level up your life?
Yeah. And you said it. People either they like it or they hate it.
Yeah.
And the people who hate it, it's usually because they were getting something out of that interaction.
Yep.
And that is when it's time to move rooms,
Hmm.
right? That's when you've outlasted where you are, and that's in your comfort zone,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes, sometimes people shouldn't be in your space. Sometimes you should no longer be in that space.
Yeah.
So sometimes they have to leave
Hmm.
and you push them out. Sometimes you have to leave. And usually it's the you leaving that brings the most, I'm gonna say it brings the most, it causes you to grow. It brings the most growth when you
Yeah.
leave.
Yeah. Did you have a situation that you had to leave, like who you were spending time with or, what you were doing that was maybe difficult to leave?
So I think the pinnacle one was leaving that relationship. That was numero uno.
Yeah.
But I've been in spaces where even in business, like, every coaching program, there's, you have a cohort or you
Hmm.
have, folks that you come in with. And there were spaces where I no longer belonged there and I had to leave.
Yeah. And that
Mhm.
takes a lot too to be really self aware to know, like, I think my time is up here. Like, it's time to move on and go
Yeah,
find, like the next program or the next group of people that is really like where I need to be.
yeah, yeah. It's not easy,
Right.
but you kind of know when it's time.
Yeah. And then since you brought up comfort zone, because that's definitely a hard thing, like we know that in order to grow, in order to have something different, we're going to have to stretch our comfort zone a little bit, which obviously is uncomfortable. Do you have any sort of advice for people that are wanting to get out of their comfort zone but may feel a little stuck?
Absolutely. So I love talking about the comfort zone. And so I'm gonna ask you, but ask your audience. If
Yeah.
I ask you the question, who wants to grow?
But
You
yeah.
want to grow?
Yep. Hands
I
up.
want to grow. I want to grow. I want to grow. Everybody says they want to grow, right?
Yep.
But if you think about a diagram of the comfort zone, let's say in this diagram is in the middle. The comfort zone is here. And outside of the comfort zone is the fear zone,
Mm-hmm.
right? And after the fear zone is the learning zone. And only after you go to the learning zone do you get to the comfort zone. I mean, I'm sorry, did you get to the growth zone,
Yeah.
right? So if I ask folks who wants to go to the fear zone, right?
Less appealing.
Right. Nobody wants to do that.
Yeah.
But if I told you the only way to get to the growth zone is to go through the fear zone,
Mm-hmm.
who wants to maybe try?
Right.
You're
Yeah.
like, yeah, okay, okay, right? So knowing the process is, I think it's very helpful
Yeah.
to know that you're going to have to overcome some fear.
Yeah.
You're going to have to learn some new things in order for you to get to that place where now you're growing.
Yeah. And I like that visual too, because I think that is, we understand that outside of our comfort zone is scary. And then that's kind of where just like, meh, not really worth it. But if we think of it as like, okay, I just need to like go through, something that is fearful, I have fear around, but then I'm going to learn something and then I'm going to grow. I think that sounds like much more exciting and attainable than just like, ugh, I gotta go experience some fear. Like, I don't want to do that.
Right. But the downside of that is who wants to stay the same where you are forever?
Right.
Right? Nope, nobody wants that either,
Yeah.
unless you're getting benefit from other people who you don't want them to grow. So, but from our side of the fence, it's like, okay, I don't want to stay the same way. And that's one of the things I knew I was living underneath of my potential
Yeah.
for decades.
How did you
I'm
know
like,
that?
I just felt it. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I don't like doing the same thing every day. And one, as a physician, as an internal medicine physician, if you're seeing patients, you're never going to have the same day.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to have chest pain, somebody's going to be dizzy, somebody's going to have a broken hip, somebody's going to be a diabetic and go to diabetic ketoacidosis. I mean, somebody is going to have a psych breakout. So it's never the same day. And I kind of like that.
Yeah.
And but I was doing the same, I call it I was living the same year over and over again. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this can't be what life's all about. There has to be more.
Right.
And so I could just feel, I'm like, God, what is it? And I would pray about it. I'm like, what am I supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
And so that's how I found life coaching
Yeah.
because I decided I was gonna I did all kinds of things. I thought about selling jewelry. I thought about doing I'm a little bit creative, so I'm like maybe I could
Yeah.
do something like this. And then I said, maybe I'd become a counselor. That was more schooling. I had enough.
Yeah.
And I said, maybe I'll be a health coach.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of how I got into the coaching space and then found life coaching, and that's where the story picks up.
Yeah. I love that. And, you started to talk about just like living under your potential. So, talk a little bit more about, when someone is feeling like they're living under their potential. I mean, obviously, it takes them wanting to grow and get outside of their comfort zone. But
Yeah.
then, like, what is living at your potential? What does that like look like and feel like?
Yeah. how does living under feel like?
Well, over, like once you kind
Over,
of go over.
over, yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I feel that people get stuck is that they know there's something more,
Hmm.
but they don't want to be wrong and
Hmm.
go down a road that isn't it,
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that.
right? Yeah. And so they're still stuck. They're like,
Yeah.
yeah, I want something more, but is this it? Is that it? And then you get from a Christian side of the house, they're like, I want to know what my purpose is.
Yeah.
I don't know what my purpose is. So they're like, I don't know. I'm going to do nothing until I figure out what my purpose is. And so I've dealt with both of those kind of types of clients or potential clients
Hmm.
and or folks. And it really takes a intentionality. It took me 10 years
Yeah.
to figure out what it was that I wanted to do and what I was good at, something that was going to be lucrative,
Hmm.
something that was going to allow me to, something that I would do without getting paid,
Yeah.
something that filled me up.
Yeah.
And so I think folks just have to be diligent in finding that thing and finding folks who can help them
Hmm.
uncover that purpose.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing that. You said it took you 10 years because I think a lot of times, especially just like with social media and all the things, we think everyone's just like instantly found their purpose and that means like we're not doing it right. But then there is that other side to it is like we think like, oh, if we just wait, our purpose is going to pop up. But, it even sounds like from your story, it's like you tried different things and it's like you have to take action and try different things in order to really uncover your purpose.
Yeah.
And then I know that, I mean, along your way, I know that you have written books and you have different, shows. Like, tell us a little bit more about, what you're excited about right now that you're working on.
Yeah. I'm excited about it all.
Yeah.
And there's some things that I've just kind of tried just to kind of see if I could do it.
Yeah.
And so one of the things my mother, there wasn't anything she couldn't do. I would come home and she would have a ladder and paint, and we would be painting the shutters or painting the house,
Yeah.
laying down a brick patio. We were doing all kinds of stuff. So I just try things just to see how it is. And so right now I have four books.
Yeah.
The first one, well, actually, it's probably five. One was I was in part of an anthology. But my first solo book, I talked about my birthmark,
Mm-hmm.
and it was called Marked from Birth, Going from Flawed to Fabulous. And I talk about how my flaw, which was my birthmark, was actually my superpower.
Yeah.
And it's a self-help journey to help individuals find their superpower.
I love
It's a great book. Love it, love it, love it. And then I have others. I have Destiny Expose. I have Daddy's Girl, which is a book written with other authors
that. Mm-hmm.
who have lost their fathers.
Mm.
So my parents were both killed in a car accident. And so we kind of met in a group. And so that's that. And then I also have the Organic Visibility Playbook, Show Up and Shine Without Spending a Dime, which
Mm.
is a good kind of early read for folks that are just getting into business who want to grow.
Yeah.
But I believe in maximizing your voice
Mm-hmm.
for free before
Yeah.
you start diving into paying for this, that, and the third. Yeah. So the other thing, I also have stages where the unmuting, where you actually get on a stage and you can share your story. And if anyone is looking to start their business,
Yeah.
or you have a business and you are looking to hone in on that purpose and connect that to your platform, I do a free boot camp. It is called Stage Builder. And you can go to drmarcia.com/stage build her, and that will give you the information on how to join. I do a summit as well as an in-person event that it will be in April here in the Baltimore area. I do have coaching programs where I help female entrepreneurs. One of the books, we actually went to Times Square in New
Mm-hmm.
York, and we were actually on a billboard. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. I am an International Woman of the Year, and
Congratulations.
thank you. I'm working with an organization in Nigeria, and we are bringing a fellows leadership program to the world. That's exciting. So I'm sure I'm leaving out some things, but those are the main highlights.
Yeah, I love that. And where's the best place for people to find this information and like stay connected with you so they can stay up to date.
Absolutely. So you can go to my website, which is drmarcea.com, and I spell my name Marcea. You can also follow me on social media at Dr. Marcea, whether that's on Facebook, Instagram, as well as on YouTube and TikTok.
Love it. And then I always love to ask, like, how has being yourself just impacted your success and where you are today?
Yeah. Being my authentic self has been very liberating. And I'm so glad that I found me
Yeah.
and that it wasn't too late. But I also wanted to dispel a myth. After you kind of step into this zone, life isn't a bed of roses. You still have issues, some things. You go into a different zip code where there's different problems, right?
Yeah.
But the thing that I will say is that I try to stay grounded to who I want to be, the next version of me,
Yeah.
because I feel like I'm doing the same thing again, meaning whether you want to call it reinventing yourself
Mm-hmm.
or realigning yourself, I always feel like at some point I'm on autopilot until I
Mm-hmm.
realize, you know what? I've let people into my life who maybe shouldn't be here this long, or I'm people pleasing in this other area. Oh, I thought I had gotten rid of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're having to do this, continue to do the work so that you can continue to grow.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and that's a good point that I think a lot of us are under the impression of like, oh, if I just do this self help thing, then I'm going to be better and it's going to be great after that. But then to know that, and even when we are doing the work and around the work, and that we know, as coaches, tactics and tools to use to like keep growing, that we can still get kind of like on that autopilot and have to kind of pause and reset and really look around and think of, all right, what's next, like what's going on here.
Mhm. And what I'll say,
Yeah.
the difference is the time it takes to pivot. Everyone's going to get hit with circumstances. Everyone's going to get hit with challenges. But if it, instead of it taking 2 or 3 weeks for you to come out of that zone, maybe it takes 2 to 3 days now.
Yeah.
Or maybe something that took 2 to 3 days, it now takes you 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
Something that took 2 to 3 hours, maybe it takes 2 minutes for you to say, you know what? I've seen this before. I can reset my brain. I can change how I'm thinking about it. And now I'm okay. Let's get this going.
Yeah. And is there any other message that you want to leave people with today?
Mhm. My favorite message is you get to create your own experiences in the world.
That. That's
Mhm.
great. I was like, just leave it there.
Leave it there. Whatever it is that you say you want, the question you should be asking yourself is, what can I do to make that happen? What can I do? And I'm going to tell you a story. Way back when I was going on a trip, going out of the country,
Mm-hmm.
and I found out my passport was going to expire
Yeah.
within the 14 days. And well, actually, it may have been the 21 days when I started. And was it during COVID? It may have been it was right around COVID, pre-COVID, post-COVID, whatever,
Yeah.
where you couldn't just go down to the passport office. That
Right.
you had to make an appointment. It was a whole lot of red tape. And I checked with my state representative. Checked with my governor. I was searching online. I even had a flight booked
Mm-hmm.
to Detroit to go to their passport office
Oh
to
wow.
try to expedite my passport because I couldn't get in DC for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I was willing to take a flight to create the experience of me having my passport ready when I went out of the country, right?
Yeah.
Just so happened that the DC passport office opened. I was able to get in. I got my passport on the spot
Mm-hmm.
and
Wow.
I had my credentials ready to go on the trip.
Yeah.
Okay. So the point I'm making is you create your own experience. I don't want I'm talking to people, they're like, oh, well, this person didn't do this and that person didn't do that. Okay. Well, maybe that's not the pathway. What else can you do?
Right.
When I'm talking to business owners who are having an event and they only have one person registered and they want to have 20, okay, what can you do today that's going to move the needle?
Mm-hmm.
It isn't just, oh, I put it out there and only one person showed up or registered. No. Did you send out your emails? Did you DM some people? Did you find some ambassadors to post it for you? Did you did you try to get a radio interview? Did you do an article? Did you put it on Eventbrite? You know, did you put it in the local newspaper or the magazine? Did you go to your chamber of commerce? Did you go to this networking event? You can go to 15 networking events just this weekend.
Yeah.
So don't tell me there's nothing you can do. No,
Yeah.
you get to create your experience in the world.
I love that. Yeah, that is, I mean, that's such a great example and reminder that you get to choose. Like, yes, life experiences happen and there's things that are out of our control, but it's like what is in your control and taking advantage of that. And then also, like, that belief that if I do this, like something's going to come out of it. Because for you
Yeah.
to, be willing to go to Detroit to get your passport, I mean, I feel like that's a risk because something could go wrong there, but you were still willing to try,
Yes.
because you wanted to create that experience.
Yes. And the other thing is something could go right.
Yes. That's like my favorite question. Is like we always think about what could go wrong or, we think about the negatives, but it's always like, what's the best thing that could happen? Like what
Yeah.
if it could work out? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
thinking out the possibilities.
Absolutely. I just want to encourage everyone to take empowered action. Whatever it is that you say you want, go execute it and you shall have it.
Well, Dr. Marcia, thank you so much for joining me. This was such a great conversation.
It was. I can't believe we're done.
I
It
know.
was great. Thank you so much. I had a really great time. Thank you so much.
I loved this conversation with Dr. Marcia so much, and I hope you enjoyed it too. It was such a powerful reminder that choosing yourself isn't about becoming someone new. It's about finally giving yourself permission to be who you've been all along and to keep renewing yourself and having those growth versions of yourself. And a few things that really stood out to me was her reminder that no one can share your story the way that you can, that growth always requires walking through fear first, and that so much of our healing begins when we stop waiting for someone else to tell us what to do and start trusting our own voice. And I love her perspective on creating your own experiences. We can't control everything that happens to us, but we always have a choice in how we respond and what action we take next. And whether it's starting a new business, sharing your story, leaving the relationship that's no longer serving you, or finally saying yes to something that's been on your heart, you get to decide what happens next. And so, my challenge for you is to ask yourself, what have I been waiting to do? What's one empowered action I can take today? And it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to move you one step closer to the life that you want. And if trusting yourself is something that you've been struggling with, I created a free Trust Yourself guide to help you start building confidence from the inside out. It's filled with simple reflections and practical exercises to help you quiet the self-doubt, reconnect with yourself, and start making decisions with more confidence. And you can download it through the link that's in the show notes. And definitely connect with Dr. Marcia and stay motivated and inspired and follow her work. And I completed the Stage Her boot camp. That was amazing, so I highly recommend it. It's time to start using the voice that's already inside you. It's time to take empowered action. It's time to be you.